Yo, what's up? Voice of Bodybuilding Podcast. We are live, and you just never know who you're going to bump into with your studio. It's the FitRockStar herself, Isabelle Turell.
What's up, everybody? I was just riding around my Harley and decided to come by and see my buddy Bob.
Who'd have guessed?
Who'd have guessed?
How about that? Listen, we've got lots of stuff to cover. First of all, get those questions in, everybody. As always, we've got answers. And Isabelle's got a different answer, so this is going to be really interesting. So we were just at the Legion over the weekend.
It sure was, and man, that was an epic show. Talk about, I know you hate the word, but I'm going to use it, stacked class.
There we go, stacked.
That was freaking unreal.
In this case, you're close. In all the divisions, there were 6 divisions represented. That means 6 golden tickets to the Olympia. Mm-hmm. And as we broke the news over the weekend, Big Jake Wood in attendance, our Olympia owner, and we were able to do a video while we were there that most people have seen by now, stating we are back in Vegas.
That's right, at the Zappos Theater.
Zappos Theater at Planet Hollywood. So we were on the Strip. This is cool because we haven't been on the Strip since, it's got to be close to 20 years ago.
Wow.
When we were at the Mandalay Bay, which was a great setup. But then we went to New Orleans and all that jazz. We were there for the most part for 15, 16 years. Actually, when I competed in the Olympia, it was at the Mandalay Bay. That was in 2002. So just to give you a reference.
Yeah, I've been there.
We call them the good old days.
The good old days. Well, I wouldn't know, Bob. I'm not as old as you are.
Well, at some point, these will be the good old days of some of these guys that were competing. And the big storyline, of course, Isabel, was Shaun Clarita, the giant killer. Now, listen, you got to earn that name. Danny Padilla, who's from my hometown of Rochester, New York. We actually trained in the same gym. So I know Danny for many, many years. But he was the original giant killer for good reason. At 5'2" and a buck, whatever he was competing at that time, heavy in the 170s, he was beating Pete Grimkowski and Roger Caller and some of the big boys. That's where he coined the name. Mm-hmm. Shaun Clarita comes around a couple of years ago, and all of a sudden he's the new giant killer. And it's like, I don't know how I felt about that, because it's like, well, it's kind of Danny's nickname, right. You know what I mean? But I got to be honest, he's earned this at this point. I mean, now you ain't slaying no giants in the 212, okay? Mm-hmm. You can't be 5'6" and be considered a giant. Although when you're 5'2",
Yeah, he's 5'2", right?
But he put his hat in the ring in the open, and I was a little skeptical of myself. I mean, listen, this guy's given up. For those who don't know, if you saw the interview on stage after Shaun won, he was 174.5 pounds, 174 pounds on stage, soaking wet. Okay, that means there was guys on stage 100 pounds. Heavier, 100.
Oh, look, Sergio's what, 280 maybe?
Yeah, he's up there. He's 270 something. Yeah, I mean, he's a big boy. He's bigger than people think. And Regan Grimes is 6'1". He was 250, 260, right? And the rest of the crew, I mean, listen, everybody was heavier than him, and everybody was bigger. But at the end of the day, here's the question that keeps coming up. Everybody, again, wants to keep bringing up the scoring, right, and the criteria. Well, I don't understand. How can this guy win being so small and, against those guys who are much bigger? And here's the answer, because you're begging for the answer, aren't you, Isabel? I can see it in your eyes.
Well, actually, I'm going to just say this. I'm not trying to bust on you, Bob.
Go ahead.
But you had Regan winning.
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. And when I said about, hey, I think Shaun Clarita's going to come in and take it over, you're like, I don't think so.
Listen, it's a lot of weight. And like the analogy I gave before, and you've seen this, you've been to as many shows as I have over the years. You're talking about the middleweight standing up against a super heavyweight, okay?
Listen, man, Shaun, he's consistent. He is consistent.
And let me tell you, he was in better shape here than he was at the Olympia, because people are saying, well, I don't understand that. So I guess if Derek Lunsford came in there, he would have won. It's like, well, wait a minute. 2 different shows, 2 different judging panels, 2 different everything. And that's my point of earlier addressing some of these guys out there. It's like, guys, you gotta understand, the criteria never changes. Okay, the criteria isn't different because somebody different is in there. The criteria is always the criteria. What changes is the lineup, the competitors, the condition of the competitors, the lineup of the judges is different, the lighting is different, right? All that stuff changes. That is the big difference. Okay, so you can't ever compare people from like one show to another. All those things come into play. Right. The Shaun Clarita you saw here, listen, if he showed up like this at the Olympia, maybe he would have beaten Derek Lunsford.
Yeah, there's a good chance.
Right? We don't know. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Now again, Lunsford was pretty damn good, and he is a lot bigger than Shaun on their own scale, all right? A little taller, obviously, but a whole lot wider, and he was put together. The other thing I had to say was Derek Lunsford's back. His posing from behind was better than anybody in the Olympia.
Right.
And I mean, not in the 212. I mean, anybody in the Olympia, even your boy, Chris Bumstead.
All right. Okay, you won that one. But again, going back to Shaun versus Regan. I mean, listen, from the back shot, Shaun freaking killed it, man.
Well,
straight glued.
Let's give credit where it's due. Shaun Clarita, probably the best Shaun Clarita we've seen.
Absolutely.
He nails it. The best Regan Grimes we've ever seen. Not the best Sergio we've ever seen. He's been better.
No, I mean, he came out 6 at the Arnold. You know, so I mean, this is...
And he was way better than the Arnold.
Yeah,
listen, this was redemption for Sergio, okay? Because he did not come in the way he wanted to with the Arnold. Put it on a little size. He didn't bring it down enough. He knew that. He was notably better here. He was in the mix. He was in the top 3 right from the bat. He looked 50% better than the Arnold. But it wasn't the best for him. And it wasn't, even though Regan, that was the best Regan we've ever seen, his best versus Shaun Clarita's best came up a little short. No pun intended.
God.
Huh?
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Yeah, I did.
But, and that's, listen, you're not talking, everybody says, well, you're talking apples and oranges. No, we're not talking apples and oranges.
Actually, a lot of people are bringing it up that it's apples and oranges.
It's not apples and oranges, okay? And here's why. Even though they're obviously completely two different, Regan's 6'1", Clarita's 5'1". I mean, I don't even know what he, whatever.
No, you're right.
What's the difference, right? They're a foot apart in height, right? But bodybuilding is bodybuilding. If you're looking at bodybuilding as a whole, overall, always the key word, overall, who was better? Take size out of it. Listen, Regan was fantastic. Best Regan we've ever seen. He got himself new coaching with Milo Sarcev. And again, his turnaround, what was he, 14th at the O?
Yeah, but let me say this. So after the O, that's 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know.
What
right?
an impressive change in 2 weeks.
And that shows you what all the difference in prep. Let me tell you something. He made huge gains this past season. And I saw that because in the video and stuff and pictures I saw from 2 weeks before the Olympia, this guy was kicking ass. That's why I picked him as my dark horse pick, right? And in an earlier VOB, you guys can go fact check me on that, okay?
Yeah.
But I picked him as my dark horse pick. Now, he completely blew it at the O. Whatever his prep was, all those gains can be gone in 48 hours if you don't have the right formula. And he clearly did not have the right formula. What he did have was the right sense to get new management. And he did that with Milos, and big tip of the cap to Milos, man. He did a fantastic job with this guy. And he came in right, and he was in the mix, and he could have won it. Now, that's a personal preference. People say, well, why does Clarita win over Regan Grimes? He was better overall, the judges felt. Now, it was close competition, right? Personally, I like Regan, all right, even though he didn't win. But then again, it's a personal preference. I like the bigger bodybuilder. I like the more aesthetic look. Shaun is packed, he's compact, he's got more muscle per pound than anybody, and that's why he ended up winning. But that could go either way with it. A different panel may have picked Regan Grimes.
It was a very tight competition, as you know. It was tight. I mean, listen, in the morning, Regan was on. He was spot on.
Yeah.
But then at night, you started seeing him slipping with the conditioning. Now, Shaun Clarita, he's got that crazy striations, man.
Yeah,
the quad striations, the cross striations.
Yeah.
From the back shot, just beautiful. I mean, he's just got that complete package. He's hard. He's big for a little guy. He's well put together.
Well, again, pound for pound, right? I mean, that's what you're looking at when you talk about overall. All right. Sorry for the sound, everybody. We're trying to figure out what's going on with this modern technology stuff. Probably because I'm using a flip phone, so sorry about that.
Is that your blueberry or blackberry?
Blackberry, not blueberries. We just had those at the store. But so we were talking about the implications this could have on an overall basis in bodybuilding. Could this have an impact on bodybuilding? If you're a bigger guy and you didn't learn nothing from this competition, then shame on you. You just got beat by a guy who was dropping 100 pounds to you, right?
Can I put it another way?
Sure.
Shaun just opened up a can of whoop ass on these guys.
He had a whole 6-pack of whoop ass, okay? And he opened up every can. That's the bottom line. But listen, here's the bottom line, really, when you get down to it. If you're a bigger guy, right, and you're a top contender, you got to come in shape. Listen, forget about the size. Chasing size will beat down any good bodybuilder any day. You will get beat by a smaller guy. Maybe not necessarily a guy that small. That just shows you how good Shaun Clarita is. But listen, you could be a 200-pound guy and still be giving up 50 pounds of muscle to the next guy. But these judges are looking for quality. They're not looking for mass without any sort of aesthetics involved. All right, because that is the criteria. Now, that always begs the question, well, why did this guy win then? And it's like, well, because the judges can only judge who's on stage.
Right.
So if in the absence of anybody meeting the criteria, somebody's got to win. So that may not be the most, the Bob Harris-esque, trim waist, Chris Bumstead, that type of, beautiful physique and all that stuff. Well, sometimes that doesn't exist on stage.
Mm-hmm. Listen, I think that the way that the judging went, some people, if they went in there voting for somebody else, obviously their heart went out to Shaun.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was an incredible moment. Again, Shaun's thing is there is no plan B. So.
Listen, you got to appreciate that, and I love that attitude. There is no plan B. Now, I did see some stuff from Sergio that somebody was drudging up on there, that before the show he had said if he gets
retired,
beat by this guy, he'll retire or something. Now, listen, you got to first of all, stop being so serious, everybody, okay? This isn't wrestling. There is no retirement match, okay, or anything like that. And if you actually read down the thing, you can see where Sergio gives props to Shaun Clarita. He never disrespected him or any of that. If he threw that out, it was more tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, all right? Now, a guy who did put some stuff out there is Patrick Moore.
Correct. Now, this guy is something. I mean, this guy has the potential to be a Mr. Olympia. There's no doubt in my mind. Beautiful physique, well put together, good-looking guy, and, I mean, he came in 10th place.
Well, and it was deserved, and I say that with all due respect. This was not the best Patrick we've seen. No. Actually, we haven't seen him as good as he was a couple of years ago in the Olympia when I gave him my unofficial Rookie of the Year title, because he was fantastic when he came out, and he showed signs of, man, keep your eye on this guy. Since then, he has struggled to kind of get that same conditioning and that combination. We saw him at the Arnold. Again, it wasn't quite the Olympia standard that he was. Now we've seen him a few more times, and he seems to have just taken a few steps backwards. But we did see a post from him that he implied that he competed probably more than he wanted to because he's got obligations to sponsors.
Right.
Now, I get that. We all got to put food on the table, and having sponsors is a great thing when you're a pro athlete. Mm-hmm. But it can't be at the expense of where your career is going. If you're a sponsor out there, and I'm just going hypothetical here because I don't know all Patrick's personal business, right? I'm just going by what he wrote out there. Okay. But he's going to take some time off, which I think is a smart thing to do at this point.
I don't know, is taking a year off, or he may retire.
He's not going to listen.
He's going to retire? He
ain't retiring. Listen, he's got too much talent, too much going for him.
Wild on that. Say, he's going to retire.
He's not going to retire. Okay, listen, he's got years invested in this. What he needs is a break. He's been on the go for literally 2 years. All right. Now, if you're a sponsor out there of Patrick, okay, and your best advice is, we want you to compete more because that's going to put you out there more, then you're lost. Okay. If I'm a sponsor of this guy, if I'm sponsoring him from Max Out, get your Max Power now, pre-workout, now available in 3 flavors. Okay. Let's just say Max Out is sponsoring Patrick, right? I don't want him competing every month.
Right.
Listen, I'll be the first one to tell him, you know what, why don't you take the rest of this year off? Because we want you to improve, right?
That's your investment.
I want you coming back and kicking everybody's ass at your next show. I don't need you out there getting your head kicked in every second, third month. You're just going to disintegrate.
Now, let's ask you. So you have been a big-time sponsored guy. You've had big sponsorships.
Sure.
So for you, obviously you've lived it. So, is it that hard when you're...
No company ever, I'll use the word, forced me to compete. Matter of fact, none of them really even had any input in it. It was really, hey, what are you going to do? Or what do you plan on doing? Now, they liked that I was out there. But I had no intention of competing over and over and over at the expense of your physique or your health, which isn't smart either way. Again, if you're a company and that's where you're pushing this guy, you're just not thinking smart. You're not thinking long term. You're not thinking smart. You're not thinking what's best for business or what's best for Patrick. So if that's what's going on, again, we're going hypothetical. Sure. We don't know all the details. That's what I would suggest is that you need to surround yourself with better people that know what's in your best interest, and it's bodybuilding. You need time to put on muscle.
Right.
He looks, and he came out there, you saw him, right? He's got a physique that you look at and you go, man, if this guy just had 25 pounds more muscle, he could be winning this show. But in order to put on 25 pounds of muscle, guess what you need? Time.
Yeah.
Time in the gym.
Absolutely.
You can't put on muscle when you're dieting for shows constantly.
Can you imagine if you took a year off and then came back and just blew everybody out of the water?
And that's what I'd like to see. I think, listen, right now he's beat down, he's hurting.
Sure.
He just got done with a show, and like I've said a million times, there should be a moratorium on speaking from athletes for 24 hours after a show. Mm-hmm. Get a cheeseburger in here or some pizza, And then the whole world looks a little bit better, and you start talking a little bit more, the nonsense that comes from some of these guys when they just get off the stage.
Right.
Listen, like I said, you're carb depleted, you're pissed off, you just got beat, you didn't win, whatever the circumstances are. That is not the time to be doing an interview.
No, I've seen guys throwing their trophies in the trash, try to beat up the judge. Come on. It's just a little crazy. Negative.
No. The rest of the competition was actually very good. Now, I don't know if I'd go with your stacked class. I think it was a good class.
Well, you know what I'm trying to say.
No, I got you.
I mean, listen, this was a really good show. Chris Menace put on a great show. It was mind-blowing.
We got to give major props to Chris Menace, his better half, Boyana.
Yeah.
Everybody at Center Podium Productions, they did a fantastic job once again. And it's not just putting on a show, it's branding. Chris is a master of branding. He's branded this competition, this Legion Sports Fest. Everybody's got a superhero theme. He's got me up there as Thor I got the microphone instead of the axe, the hammer and all that.
And a cigar.
And the cigar, yeah, which I did appreciate, And but everybody's got that superhero theme. But man, it makes for a really great show. And it's everywhere. I mean, you can see he puts considerable time, energy, and money into building this, and he has built this up literally. You're always going to have the Olympia, of course, and then the Arnold, and he's right there after that. New York Pro and this show, and there's maybe 3 shows that are in that level to me. Romania.
Yeah, the Romania Muscle Fest, which is November 12th through the 14th. Speaking of, let me throw this in there. So. We actually had 3 champions from the Romania Muscle Fest in the Croatia show.
That's right.
Cedric McMillan, Max Charles, and Regan Grimes.
Regan won. That's where he qualified for the Olympia last year. And Romania's been up there. Obviously, that being put on by Jake Wood, of course, and our friends at
also known as
Wings
Ken
of
Wood.
Strength.
Ken Wood. Also
known as Ken, yeah. Jake's so big, he actually needs 2 names, but Arnold likes to call him Ken, so we got to kick at that one. We'll explain that later, folks. But yeah, Romania is actually coming up in just a few weeks. But I don't want to skip over there. We'll get back to the lineup in a second. But just because we're firing on all cylinders here,
we're excited.
On the same day as Romania, so we got both ends of the pond cover here. You got Romania coming up with special attention to Alina Popa, who obviously is from that area. So I know she's very involved and very busy with that. And Big Jake, he was over there a few months back. They were setting up shop. It's a fantastic show, though. I mean, again, there's
you actually posted that.
I was there a couple of years ago. I actually did the show, and we went to Dracula's Castle, and that sucked.
Oh, God.
It's unbelievable.
Jesus, man.
Right?
You just don't stop with your dad jokes.
It's the same time that Romania's going on. Guess what's going on this side of the pond?
The Lee
Haney show. The Lee Haney Games is going on in my old backyard of Atlanta, because we're in Savannah now. So Lee has a fantastic show. Same weekend. I will be there in attendance. I'll be actually hosting my first Lee Haney game, so that's exciting for me because I love Lee Haney. I love Lee Haney, man. This guy is the best when it comes to, if you're ever going to look up to anybody in this sport,
it is Lee Haney.
I put him and Jay Cutler, like right there at the top. And Jay is right. I mean, he's a great ambassador. Lee has been a gentleman, a great ambassador for bodybuilding. He's well spoken. He's successful in business. When Lee speaks, people listen. But he has built this show up. The Lee Haney Games is a huge show. Again, right in Atlanta, LeeHaneyGames.com. You can get all that information. But we'll be out there in just a few weeks. I'll be there as Romania is going on.
I have to chime in about the Lee Haney Games because I'm a huge fan of Lee Haney. So he has the Lee Haney experience. He's going to have all of his trophies, like from the beginning when he started bodybuilding, all the way till,
So he's going to have his sand there at the show?
8 Sandals is there. All his trophies, his teen bodybuilding America.
Wow. Okay.
Trophy, a whole bunch of stuff.
Now, he won just to show you how cool, he won the Team America.
Yes, the Team America.
Now, this is before, and we call it the Team America because not team, the Teen America, because back then, he actually went up before the NPC was around.
Wow.
So there was no NPC anything. It was the AAU, which Jim Mannion was a part of. And then they split off with the NPC, and that's where that was formed. And then Lee Haney became your very first national champion.
So there is going to be a suite for all this stuff.
Suite?
Well, the fan suite, the Lee Haney.
No, I mean, it's sweet. Absolutely.
He did it again, man.
Listen,
Why?
If anything, nothing can be more cool than that. Like, I want to see like a Hall of Fame type thing with Lee Haney stuff. Like, how cool is that?
That is just epic.
As a fan of the sport,
that is great.
If you're anywhere remotely near the Atlanta area, set your calendar for that date. Come on out to the Lee Haney games. Come meet Lee. You're going to have a whole bunch of superstars. Usually the Atlanta crew is there. Rock Shabazo will be there. Big Daddy Diesel himself, Shaq, might be there. Yeah. He usually pops up there. By the way, Shaq calls me Uncle Bob.
Uncle Bob.
Yeah. So it's kind of
really quick Shaq story. So we were in the Arnold Classic. He bought everybody in a restaurant dinner.
Yeah, how cool is that?
Their bill. Everybody.
The only thing that pissed me off is that I know he was buying. I would have ordered more food, but that's okay. He's a good guy. Hey, Shaq, if you're watching, we'll see you at the Lee Haney games in a couple of weeks.
LeeHaneyGames.com.
So back to the because you mentioned Cedric.
Yeah, Cedric.
This was not the best Cedric we've ever seen.
No, I was really sad because I really like Cedric. He's such a great guy. I mean, Arnold Classic champion 2017. You know, he's great.
Well,
in a military.
And he's in. To set the record straight, because a lot of people don't know this, he's active military. Okay, he's got a real job. Okay, which is very unheard of in bodybuilding at the pro level. Most of those guys are 24/7 bodybuilders. They get up, they eat, sleep, and drink bodybuilding. Listen, like Patrick was saying, right? He's got sponsors. I mean, he feels beholden to them to some degree, but he doesn't have to answer the bell. You know what I mean? In terms of that, Cedric is active military. He's been in service for 20 years plus. So he's got actual duties and stuff, and you got to give him credit for continuing to compete. Now, again, was this the best Cedric you've seen? No, it wasn't even close. And actually, as it was, he was battling some issues after. He wasn't feeling that great after prejudging. He was fine. He wasn't feeling up to par. He didn't feel like it was. He knew he wasn't in the mix.
Sure.
So probably smart staying off the stage at that point. He knew he wasn't going to place in the money. So. But big shout out to Cedric. Again, still great seeing him on the stage, of course.
Love you, Cedric.
And two new guys, relatively. Martin Fitzwater.
From Wheat Ridge, Colorado.
He's like, I'm going to dub him like the quiet assassin, right? Because he just kind of materialized, like all of a sudden, like he was like in that first call out, and he wasn't a guy that immediately caught your eye until he started posing. And then he just said, you know what, this kid's pretty, who's this kid over here?
He's got some great size.
Yeah.
I mean, his conditioning, of course, wasn't all there, but this kid can do some damage, if he keeps at it.
And the other guy was Joe Seaman from
Joe from Canada.
From Canada.
This guy was a monster. He walked out. I was like, holy
right?
hell.
And again, not a guy who was, had a lot of, fanfare coming in. Most people never heard of him, right? And again, I always got to give credit where it's due. We had Tyler there. We had Tamer. We had some good judges on the panel. They called it the way they saw it.
They did.
Again, this is not a guy that came. Listen, Cedric was a big name, right, coming in, and even Patrick, he was coming, and some of these guys. This was not a guy that was on the map, but they recognized that he brought a lot of muscle and he was in great condition, and all of a sudden he's in the top
We're
5.
We're forgetting one person who is from Reno. Well, you didn't mention. Shame on you.
Oh,
Tonio Burton.
Oh, my man.
This guy came in 4th place. This guy was the happiest guy. I think he was more happier than Shaun Clarita winning. He was, right?
Well, first of all,
smiling all over the place.
He had every friend in his whole family there, right? So they were going nuts for Tonio. We saw him previously. He was in one of the shows we did earlier in the year. Indy Pro. Right. Big shout out to Dave Bowers out there for that.
He went from 212 into the Open.
That's right. He was a 212 guy. So he had two guys that he ended up in the top 5. And Tonio, listen, I love the energy he brings to the stage. He was hyping it up as they were getting ready to hit poses. He's getting the audience going and all that. He's a guy to be looking for in the future because he's got the size.
Those legs.
I know, right?
Ooh.
He's got those crazy quad sweep legs.
Yeah, man.
So, no, listen, Tonio was fantastic. Sergio, again, not to beat it into the ground, but he's right there. I mean, I know I've been saying this for 2 shows now, okay? But he's right there. All he's got to do is dial it down 1 notch. And he will be a contender in any show he goes into. So
I do want to go back to Regan. Okay, let's be real though.
All right.
Regan
full circle
came. Well, I mean, listen, we needed. Regan, attractive guy. I'm just throwing it out there. It's true, but his package is incredible, right?
His package.
Not that package.
No.
Not the cash.
I don't know what you're looking at.
Not the cash. Well, I'm obviously looking at that. But anyway,
all right.
I call it the cash and prizes. By the way,
cash and prizes.
So no,
meat and 2 veg.
Dingleberry and Twigs? No, I don't know. Anyway, his package is so complete. The front lat spread shot, holy smokes.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about this. His stomach, I mean, listen, he had the best abs.
Yeah.
Flat, no,
But this is why I say, though, listen, it's everybody's got their preference, right?
Look out for Regan, because he's coming.
All right, listen,
Kid's hungry.
and I say this with all due respect to Shaun Clarita, because I don't take the victory away from him in any respect. He earned it. Personally, if I was judging, now again, we're going on the idea, I'm not out at the judges table, okay, just so we can clarify. I'm sideways. I can see a whole lot, and I'm very close to these guys in terms of distance, but I'm not at the judges table. So maybe it's different from out there. But from what I saw in the pictures and video and everything else I saw subsequently, I still had Regan winning. I would have had no problem if Regan Grimes had won that show.
No, I don't think, I don't think anybody would have a problem if Regan won. But look, if you were for Regan going in there and you saw Shaun win it, you just know.
Yeah,
all right, look, this is fair and square. Now, I'm going to point this out to you.
Why
Shaun's physique was like he was so statuesque, just
Yeah.
boom. So the interesting thing was off on the sidelines when they have the last call out guys, Shaun is just like,
I know, right?
a whole entire time, confidence. This
Yeah.
confidence level is pouring. Now, Regan, everybody else just kind of getting their, the water. Shaun,
Listen,
up there the whole entire time.
Regan's a big boy. Listen,
I know,
it's harder for a big man,
dude,
right?
Shaun went in there.
Yeah.
This is my show.
Because he had no plan B. Right?
He had no plan B.
He had no plan B. But
What a great open men's bodybuilding.
Sure was. Well, we saw some of the other divisions unfold. Missy...
my girl, Missy.
Yeah, she got her mojo back.
Apex Predator.
Yeah. Well, she's qualified for life anyways, but it certainly didn't hurt her cause.
Well, listen, and her husband won $25,000.
I should have been gambling with him
casino.
because I did.
$25,000.
Yeah, I won two things: Jack and shit. That's what I won. So, all right.
Don't ever play with this guy. He cheats. He's a dirty cheat. No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't. He wins big. He lies. I won like $25. But anyway.
Anyways.
Yeah.
So you guys got questions? Fire them out. Again, we are here now, guys and girls. All right. Try to keep the questions relevant to the topic at hand. All right. I don't need to know how Hottie Chupan should have won the Olympia again, right? And all this stuff. Look at Olympia's done. It's in the past. It's history. Okay. It panned out the way it panned out. All right. I love answering questions, but the same ones over and over and over get a little repetitious. So if you guys got anything relevant, all right, to the Legion show, to the upcoming competitions, all right, big announcement we talked about in Vegas, the Olympia returning to Vegas, right? We're more than happy to answer all your questions here today. That's why we do these things live. You
know what? Natalia Calejo winning the women's physique division too. That was incredible. She looked great. Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah. I mean, listen, she went in as the favorite, clearly. But Ivy Rain gave her a nice run for her money. Now, she's been a contender. She's been around for 3-4 years, right? She's always in the mix, all right? I've seen her place anywhere from, winning a show to fifth. She's always in the top 5 somewhere. But those two seem to stand out immediately.
Hey, let me ask you something. What do you think about when these YouTubers compare, say Shaun Clarita to Ronnie Coleman? What do you think of that?
Yeah, let's not get crazy, okay? I mean, listen, love Shaun Clarita, giant killer, all that stuff. He's earned everything he's gotten. He's exceeded everything, the expectation that people have had. Let's face it, that was not an easy task. Beating guys, again, that you're dropping, 80, 90, 100 pounds to is almost impossible. But he's so good that he does it, right? But let's not confuse things, okay? I mean, he beat Regan Grimes. Now, Regan is a great bodybuilder, and I think his best days are coming. It would not shock me if Regan Grimes is fighting for the Olympia title in a few years. I think he's that good. I think he could be up there with the rest of the crew, with Nick Walker, with Hunter Labrada, with Hottie Chupan. Hottie Chupan, we love you, Hottie. Okay, all my buddies in Iran. And I'm still trending in Egypt, by the way. So, hey, all my buddies in Egypt, tell Dr. Hawass I'm still coming out there. Big Rami, if you're there, don't forget me, bro. I want to come out there, see the pyramids. Dr. Hawass. All right.
You're going to ride a camel? Now
I would ride a camel, sure.
Would you?
Yeah.
You wouldn't worry about your...
Only on Wednesdays, though. I would only ride one on Wednesday.
Oh.
Hey-oh, hump day. Huh?
You gotta stop.
What do you got? Come on. You got questions?
Okay. I have a question of my own.
Hump day.
No.
No, just stop. We do have a question.
Okay.
We have a few questions.
Sure.
I have a question of my own, so mine goes first. With Shaun winning, what does that do for the other 212 competitors
Opens
in
the
the
door
open?
wide open.
I'm going to disagree.
No, I think it gives them a shot. Look, there are guys like a Derek Lunsford, if they went into the open.
He's the only other one. Now, I'm not talking about Flex Lewis, by the way, before somebody chimes in with that, because we know Flex has competed in the open in the past. He's done very well. He's got all the muscle to do it. He's got 7 titles to his credit. He is obviously a guy that hopefully we'll see in the open in the next year or so. because we didn't see him in this last year. By the way, congratulations to Flex and his lovely wife. They are expecting, I hear, so another to the Lewis family.
A boy.
Boy, even better. Okay, there you go, buddy. That said, not everybody is eligible. I shouldn't say eligible. Not everybody is a consideration to do well in the open. That's in the 212. Shaun Clarita is an exception to the rule. All right, and Derek Lunsford absolutely could. That's about the only two I see right now. Anybody else would have got that their ass handed to them?
One thing you didn't mention too is the fact that Shaun now is qualified for the Open and the 212, but we know he's not going to go into the Open.
Well, he hasn't made that yet. He also did say this. He's not done with the Open class, right? So he is going to compete again. But yes, technically speaking, folks, he now qualifies for both. He's qualified for life as an Olympia winner for the 212. But with an Open victory, he is actually qualified for the Open. He could pick one of the. He could actually go in the Open if he wishes. Now, you can't do both. There's no crossovers these days. So that'll be interesting to see where he goes.
Okay, Brian the Bull says Clarita winning is yet more evidence that there is more to judging on mass alone. Mass, symmetry, proportion, and conditioning are all encompassing to the decision.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
If that's Brian Bullman, which I would guess from that moniker, he's a top judge. Okay, so he knows better than everybody. But it's good to see judges chiming in, telling people, look at where it's what's considered. Does size make a difference? Well, yes and no.
Right.
Does height make a difference? No.
Right.
That's a big difference. When you say size matters, it looks like Regan can use more size because his frame is so big.
Right.
Like it looks like Regan could use another 10, 15 pounds of muscle.
I'd like to see bigger biceps.
Oh, right, that's what I'm saying. But it doesn't look like you could squeeze another half a pound of muscle on Shaun Clarita's body. He's tapped out in terms of muscularity, but that's what we're talking about when we talk about pound for pound. There's a difference there, and that's why Shaun Clarita won. I mean, it's why you can't take the victory away from him.
Okay, Hassan Peeled will beat all of the guys you mentioned. Hassan
Mustafa.
Yeah. Listen, I don't doubt that, but we haven't seen it yet.
Well,
so it's pure speculation. He's got more muscle than anybody, but we don't know what that physique looks like. Mm-hmm. He would need to come down 15 pounds on stage.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, we've seen this guy, how many shows? 4 shows? Just every show. Nothing's changed. He's going down. And this kid, let me tell you, he's like the Hulk.
I know, right?
He can win shows. Hands down. He should be winning these shows.
He's wider than he is tall.
Oh, he's just freaking legs.
But just like we opened the segment with today, right? You've got to be in condition. If you're not in condition, you are absolutely not in contention. Yeah. No question about it. You're automatically in the second or third call-up.
Right.
B. Shiv wants to know, what do you think about Regan Grimes in the next 5 years?
Like I said, if this guy ain't fighting for an Olympia title in the next 3 years, and I think Milos actually came out with a statement and said that this guy will be fighting if he follows the protocol. And I think, listen, if Regan doesn't have 100% confidence in his team at this point, I mean, this guy's got to be on top of the world, right? He just turned it around, like you said, just 2 weeks earlier.
2 weeks. Now imagine if he
this
had a year.
He was fighting for last at the Olympia.
Right.
Now listen, even the last place Olympia is better than everybody else, right? I mean, come on, you're still the top 16 in the world, right?
Still.
So you got to respect that. But come on, that's not what Regan was looking for. No. And if he came in like this at the Olympia, that would have been interesting. Mm-hmm. Like if Regan, that's a good hypothetical, right? If Regan Grimes shows up at the Olympia like he looked like the Legion, where is he? Is he fighting Nick Walker and Hunter?
I think so, absolutely.
Right? I think he's in that. Like I think he's in that crew with Ian and those two guys.
He's got a really pretty physique.
And he's a lot bigger than those guys.
And again, 2 weeks, what Milos did, imagine a year.
Well, that's why they call him the Mind. The Mind. Milos is like Doctor Strange out there. He's just making you think that you're that great.
His workouts are insane, man.
Well, listen. Whew. Milos was a top pro for many. He knows his stuff. Trust me, folks.
I'm sure his DMs were lighting up after Regan's.
Well, listen, no better testament for business, right? Than you just brought this guy almost into the winner's circle in a couple of weeks. Changed. It also shows you how fast a body can change. It's not a one-way ticket. Like in 2 weeks, it's like blowing a balloon back up. You can deflate it or you can blow it up, literally in days, if you know what you're doing. That being the caveat.
Being consistent and doing everything.
Got to do it right.
Taking all these cheat meals and crap. Anyway.
Okay, I have another question. Does the Shaun that you saw on Sunday beat Derek at the Olympia?
Great question. Does the Shaun that we see beat? I'm going to say no. I'm going to
also say no because Derek's back shot and those glutes, nobody has those glutes like Derek. And so, I mean, I'm not basing this on glutes, but his conditioning, Derek's conditioning was off the charts.
And Derek has a better physique in terms of prettiness, proportion, right? Yeah, I mean, he's got those real wide shoulders and then that tiny waist.
Just the vacuum.
Yeah, with the vacuum and all that, and the flaring thighs. I mean, that's classic bodybuilding right there, right? That's what you look for. It looked like a big giant squeezed him in the middle, and everything went to either side, you know. But he, I say, listen, if Clarita's, let me put it this way: if Clarita's 100% and Derek's 100%, Derek beats him every time.
Every time.
Every time.
I have another question on that. Being that Shaun now has a year to prepare, and so does Derek, and he's obviously going to defend his title at 212, does Shaun put on more muscle to take on Derek?
No. And let me tell you why. Shaun literally can't put on much more muscle.
You don't think so?
His frame is only so big. He's a small person, obviously, right? If he puts the more muscle he puts on at this point,
thicker, like he may.
Yeah, I think what you're going to see is, I think you would see a thicker Shaun, but not a more aesthetically pleasing Shaun. Right. Well, we saw this with, I'll tell you who's a great example, William Bonac. All right, we saw William Bonac, who was second in the world, right?
He was a 212 guy, wasn't he?
Used to be, yeah. He came from the 212, right? He bumped himself up, right? Did extremely well, obviously. He was second in the Olympia. But you saw him that 1 year, maybe 3 years ago, where he came in bigger and he just looked blockier.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with when you're tapped out. See, like Regan has the world's his oyster. He's so big. Like I say, at 6'1", he's got an extremely large frame. He can put on 20, 25, 30 pounds of muscle and still be aesthetically pleasing. All right, like Bumstead, same type of thing. He's about the same, like about 6'1". He's got all the room in the world to put on muscle. But when you're a bigger person, you can do that. When you're smaller and your shoulders are only so big, you're just going to look blockier as you go bigger. So I think it would actually be a mistake. And if you notice, he didn't go up in weight to compete against the big boys. He actually went down. He went down almost 4 pounds from where he was at the Olympia to compete against these guys. Now, if that doesn't show you a great technique and a great strategy, he didn't bump it up 10, I'm going to be competing against these big guys. I got to get big. You're going to be the smallest guy no matter what you do on stage. So what did he do? Smart. The kid used his head, man. He actually went down the other way and got in such great condition that's what beat the big boys.
Well, let me tell you, a lot of people never believed in Shaun. They thought, oh, he's a little guy.
They're believing now.
Again, and God rest his soul, John Meadows was his coach for many years when nobody believed in him. And this kid came, boom. He is the giant killer for sure. Journey always believed in him.
Jesus.
They never stopped.
Okay,
somebody help me.
You've already touched on this, but this guy has just joined. Johnny Boy wants to know. He wants to know what your take on Cedric not finishing the show is.
Well, I don't know his circumstances, so I don't want to put it out there as it's poor sportsmanship or whatever. The word I got on stage was that Cedric wasn't feeling up to par, and he decided it would be best if he didn't come back at night. I've known Cedric a long time, many, many years. Listen, I've seen him good and I've seen him bad. He's always come back. So he doesn't have any pattern that would indicate to me like it was sour grapes or he just went, screw it, I'm out of the mix, you know what I mean? Listen, if you're not feeling well, and this goes out to all athletes, okay? Don't ever be afraid to tell somebody, look, I ain't feeling that great, whatever. The last thing we need, especially today, right, is somebody dropping on stage or you're down on your knee and you're throwing your guts up on stage. It's not good for biz. It's not good for you. It's not making us look good as a sport. You know what I mean? If you're not feeling good, I just stay off the stage.
Your health is number one.
Yeah. Again, there's no extra brown. You don't get any more points, okay, towards the Olympia because you gutted it out and went out there. If you're not feeling great, if you feel like a little off or something's up, stay off the stage. Right. Listen, he wasn't in the mix for the win. Okay, he knew that. He's a veteran competitor. So you know what? No, it's a good move. And again, no indication of sour grapes or anything like that. He's never been a poor sport. I've known Cedric for 20 years, okay? So I don't think that was it. I think he made the smart play at that point, and I appreciate that because that's not good.
Right.
B. Shiv wants to know, can you explain how to qualify in bodybuilding from the start? How many shows do you have to win? How many pro show appearances, etc., to make it to the Olympia stage?
Well, here's the interesting thing. in this day and age, now this is kind of weird, okay, but not years ago I thought of this. In today's day, in the way you can get a pro card and all that stuff, you can actually get yourself to the Olympia stage without ever winning a show overall.
Points.
Yeah. But you can go from the amateurs, right, to the national stage. Mm-hmm. You can get a second, again, depending on what category you're in, you know what I mean, because they're not all the same, but you can take a runner-up finish and get a pro card at the nationals or the USA. You can go to the pros. You can never win a show but get enough points to qualify. So you could actually get from 0 to hero, right? Without ever winning a pro show. Now, I don't particularly like that. Like, I honestly would like us see us imply a system down the road, you know, maybe, or something that we can look at. I honestly think you should have to win to move up. Now, again, I get all aspects. I'm a promoter. Okay, I'm part of the pro league and all that stuff. I get it. I get all sides. But I was still, I know we're old school, but I'd like to see somebody have to win to be able to move up. Generally speaking, to answer your question, though, most people will win a local, then they'll go to a regional, they'll go to a statewide, nationals or junior nationals, and then get to get a pro card, and then of course you get to the pros. Well, the easiest way is to win a show. You win, you're in, right? That's what we were peddling when we did the split with the other federation and all that stuff, and that's how it should be. Because I never liked the politics that was going on overseas back then from the other guys. All right, because you could get a pro card by submitting and this and that. Listen, people can criticize us all you want, all right, and the NPC for different things. No federation is perfect, but I think we're as close as you're going to get. But there's always been one thing that we've never deviated from, and that is you win, you're in, all right? There was no, you don't submit. There is no, well, if you win 10 shows, we'll give you a pro card. It doesn't. No, you have to win or take at least a second place in those designated shows. But you don't get denied at that point. And it used to go on in another federation.
Thank God for the NPC and IFBB. I mean, listen, the NPC, what Jim Mannion, our president, has done, because
absolutely,
we have had so many legends made in our sport.
So we're the best in the world.
That's right.
Right?
Oh, crap. I got to go back to the questions. Hang on.
So how about?
By the way, if you're a part of some other federation out there, all right, we do not bar you or ban you from competing in ours. Okay, you can go compete wherever the hell you want, especially as an amateur. Here's the deal: you can come in if you earn your pro card at the nationals or whatever. You earn your pro card into the pro league. It's that simple, right? So, but we also don't grant pro status, because this has come up with some people that I see that are damn good bodybuilders out there, but they're not part of our federation. Okay. We don't grant pro cards to people from other federations, okay, because we have no idea what they have their status on or how they got their pro card. So we wouldn't deny him. Now, just because you're a pro in another federation, that doesn't mean you don't come over to our pros. You go to the amateurs. Right. If you're that good, go to the USA, go to the Nationals. You should be able to clean house, and boom, you're in the club, right?
We've actually had some successful pros that have done that.
Absolutely, yeah, but that's where you go, though. You start at the amateurs, and then you work your way up in our federation. We don't take other pros from other federations.
Why don't you think Rami can dominate like Dorian or Jay? And he is bigger than them, but he's not consistent. I
give you a couple good reasons. Dorian, Jay, Ronnie, yes, they all got beat early on in their career. But once they got to the Olympia level, none of them got beat. Okay, Dorian got out, with 6 titles. Ronnie obviously with 8. All those guys. Jay obviously did very well, and then recaptured the title. He came in off that 1 year, and Dexter swiped that sand out right up. Good for Dexter because he earned it. I don't believe that, because I think Rami is a little more beatable. I don't think he's as put together as well as those guys we mentioned. And he's been beaten. He's been beaten by Bonac. He's been beaten by Curry. He's been beaten by Hadi, I believe, might have bested him at one of those shows. So he is beatable. He's not as dominant as those guys.
Speaking of Dexter, it's really nice to see him this weekend at the Legion Fest. Chris Mintz, again, had some superstars over there. So
yeah, we had Chris Cormier. We had him.
Sean Ray, your buddy.
Sean Ray, Mr. Olympia, Sean Rhoden, right, was there. We had a few Olympians on hand. So it's nice to see the superstars coming out to support.
Oh, my girl, Yarishna Ayala. Oh, what was that?
That's the
you all right?
That's the battle call for wellness.
Don't do that. It's half-assed. Is that what you always say?
There's nothing half-assed about wellness.
Bob, would you please comment on the new venue for the Olympia? Is it potentially a good bodybuilding place as far as lighting, fan experience, seating, and pay-per-view?
Let me tell you something, brother. All right. Oh, sorry, I had my Hulk Hogan switched on there.
Go for it.
Let me tell you about this venue. Okay, now this was in the works 2 years ago. Everything was done, signed, sealed, delivered. Zappos Theater, Planet Hollywood, back in the Strip, blah, 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 blah. And then COVID hits.
Ugh.
Right? Completely obliterates the entire plan. But here's the cool thing. They were able to put it together in Orlando. Everybody knows that. We ended up back in Orlando this year because Vegas was still a little unsettled. But all the homework's done. This place is absolutely fantastic. The Zappos bodybuilding in its inception is better off at a theater, always. Always. You can only recreate so much of a theater atmosphere in flat seating and an expo, which is very big and airy and all that. I grew up in theater type environments with the curtains and the pitch seating and all that stuff. But the lighting is better. The sound quality is better. This is the same theater that Celine Dion plays, that Britney Spears has played, right? That some of the top acts in Vegas have been on that same stage. This is made for bodybuilding.
No, when we talk about sound, my chest is still throbbing from Tamer El Gindi and his production crew because holy smokes, it was off the
Tamer
charts.
likes.
So imagine the
music.
Zappos Theater.
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, the sound quality will be as good, but the difference is the speakers aren't 10 feet from the front
Oh,
row.
you had it right next to the...
Yeah, let alone I had a speaker from me to this wall. You can't see the wall, but it was literally, you saw it. It was what, it's 8 feet from me?
Oh, God.
Maybe?
Yeah.
The whole Olympia. I'm surprised I can hear out of my right ear to this day.
You can't. What do you think about Kevin Levrone saying Rami isn't a great ambassador?
Yeah, well, I didn't hear him say that, but I'll take your word that Kevin said something of that effect. I mean, it depends on what you define as an ambassador. I mean, number one, I bet you'd get a different response in Egypt, right? I mean, listen, this guy in Egypt is God.
He is.
He showed up and they had a parade like the Yankees were coming down Fifth Avenue after winning the World Series. There was confetti flying and people and signs, and there was thousands of people. Thousands, okay? So that might be a little harsh to say. Listen, Rami has improved his English dramatically over the last, 2-3 years in particular. When he first came over, he spoke no English. So that's helped him a great deal. He does travel around. He does. Now, listen, no different than Dorian. Now, Dorian wasn't considered a, quote, great ambassador, but I mean, at the end of the day, how much of an ambassador do you have to be? Isn't the game here to be the best bodybuilder in the world? Do you have to be an ambassador?
You don't have to be ambassador, but as Mr. Olympia, you want to be a great ambassador. My opinion, I gotta say, and I love Kevin Levrone, but he's actually a great ambassador. This guy walks in the room, he doesn't know some of these people. He goes and shakes everybody's hand.
Yeah.
Thank you
He's very
for
respectful.
support. He's very respectful.
Yeah.
And there's a little young kid, what's his name, Bruce, from the seminar.
Brock.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Brock.
Sorry,
My
Brock.
man.
Brock, who
He's
again,
watching
tell the
right
story.
now.
Yeah,
Brock,
I'm sure he's watching.
what's up, buddy?
But the thing with him with Rami.
Oh, listen, we were at the seminar 2 years ago, and my man Brock, he's a young kid. He's got a big heart. He loves bodybuilding. He's going to compete. His father brought him there, and he was at the seminar. And, he was so emotionally filled. He was actually tearing up, asking questions for Rami and the pros. So I just took it upon myself to say, I want to get a picture with you and the champ. And I brought him up to get a picture with Rami. But Rami, actually, he was back this year. Him and his father were back. James, big shout out to you. And there was Brock right back, a little bit bigger, a little bit taller. And Big Rami remembered him.
And he opened his arms to the kid and was just...
But he remembered Brock, and so I said, so we got another picture. So, now we're going to make this an annual tradition. So we'll see Brock getting bigger and growing older and getting more towards his bodybuilding dreams every year at the Olympia. It's fantastic to see that, but I'm going to disagree, Kevin. I like Big Rami. He's a good man.
That's why he's the people's champ.
Well, Hottie's a people's champ.
Well,
that's
last
okay.
year he was a people's champ.
Yeah, whatever. Actually, Hottie was a people's champ then too, but 2 years in a row. Thanks for playing.
He was your champ as well.
He's my champ. That's
There
it.
you go. I knew it was something like that. Yeah.
Okay, Burr My Hustle wants to know, can an unknown come into the Olympia and win?
Yes.
No.
Why?
Because he wouldn't be unknown. Now you're talking about a guy who literally, like we give credit at the Olympia, like for Urs.
Oh my boy, the miracle bearer.
So Urs, right? Blonde kid, had the hair working, right?
Makeup.
Young kid, 20-something years old, right? He comes out there, bursts onto the scene. He was, what, 4th at the Olympia?
He's
something
only
like that?
23 years old.
Yeah, this is classic physique, okay? Look it up, guys. And the other guy who was just as good, guy with the mustache there, was it?
The Brazilian?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I keep forgetting. There's not Raphael. Anyway.
Ramon,
thank you. And Ramon, those two guys came completely unheralded. Nobody knew who they were. Now, they were still, I think, 4th and 5th, respectively. Did fantastic. For somebody to actually come in and win the Olympia that nobody's really heard of, that's a little far-fetched. We've never seen it in the 57-year history of the Olympia. Okay? Think about it, right?
Paying your dues, kind of.
I'm even trying to think of somebody who places as high as let's say the top 3 that was, quote, unknown. Right. But you're going to know. I mean, listen, if they're that good to get to the Olympia, then they're not unknown, right? That would be something. But I tell you what, the closest you're going to get, how about this guy, Nick Walker?
He
right?
brought it. Exactly.
But listen, you didn't know who he was 2 years ago.
No.
You never heard of him, right? And he just, boom, all of a sudden there's this Nick Walker guy out there. Hey, you got to see Nick Walker. It's like, okay. And boom, he wins a show.
You know
and
why?
Then boom, he wins the Arnold. And then
why?
Boom, he's in the top 5.
Because he's consistent.
Well, he's put together is what he is.
But
right?
he's consistent. He does everything to the T, like Shaun Clarita.
That's as close, I think, you're going to see as, quote, a unknown. Now, again, he made himself known real quick, and he served some notice at that with that top 5 finish. So good for Nick.
Mayor of
Bodybuilding. Hey, we know him.
He wants to know who was the hardest trainer at Gold's.
The hardest trainer. There was a lot of hard trainers there. I mean, listen, you got to go for the godfather of bodybuilding, Charles, because he's trained more champs than anybody, and he's been there for 40 years. By the way, Charles was a damn good bodybuilder in his day. Google is your best friend. If you're a fan of bodybuilding, go look up Charles last time he was competing. Oh yeah, he was a world-class gymnast, and also did pretty damn good in bodybuilding as well. He was a top contender in the America, the USA back, and then I saw a lot of hard trainers. Milos is a very hard trainer. My buddy King Kamali, big shout out to the King. My Mamaluke brother out there, he's been kicking ass for years in New York.
He's not really Michael Hearn.
Yeah, listen, Mike trains people as well.
Titan, the original Titan.
No, he's not the original. let's not go there.
What about Dennis James? I've seen him make people
Let me tell you
puke.
something. Dennis will kill you in the gym. And let me tell you something. If not for Dennis James, our buddy DJ, okay, your partner in the Menace, right? Doing a lot of broadcasting these days, play-by-play, does a great job. If not for Dennis James, Big Ramy does not win the Olympia.
Yep, correct.
I said that last year, and I'll say it this year again. He beats him into the ground, not for, he does train him, but obviously limited because Ramy is in Egypt most of the year and traveling. But when he comes over, it's not so much the training. Listen, he's got as much muscle as he's ever going to need. It's the posing. And let me tell you, not this year, but last year when Ramy won for the first time, that was the difference. The year before, he was sucking wind. Right. I mean, hands on the knees. They were. Big Steve was killing these guys on stage. He was the last guy in the pose and the first guy out. Reversed it when the year he wins. He's the first guy in the pose and the last one out. Not shaking, not sweating bullets to hold. Compromise, cool, collect, and in my opinion, obviously you got to come in shape. You got to do your homework, but without that, I don't think he wins.
It's really funny, real quick. So while he was in Egypt, his wife was timing him with the posing, and she was like
not in Egypt. When he was at Dennis's house.
At Dennis's house.
Dennis had to go on a trip. While he's away, Ramy didn't get the day off. There's Dennis's wife is sitting there with the stopwatch, and she's counting as he's doing poses. She was killing him. She might be a tougher trainer than Dennis.
That's right.
All right, 2 more questions because it's been an hour. Will Shaun Rhoden ever compete again?
I hope so. We saw him over the weekend.
He actually posted some shots. Look really good.
Well, he stayed in shape. He's got a real good disposition, about as good as you can have given the circumstances. But the clock is ticking. He's not a young man anymore. He's probably in his late 40s. And, physiques, unfortunately, don't get better like fine wine. They tend to disintegrate, Listen, there's only one Dexter Jackson, okay? So when people say, well, unless you're like a Dexter the Dexter Jacksons of the world, it's like, no, take the S off. There was one guy. His name was Dexter Jackson, and he was able to do it till 50 years old, which is pretty damn impressive. But that's it. I don't know what deal with the devil he signed years ago, but he's the only guy. You know what I mean? Like, you don't see that. Generally speaking, listen, there's a reason we have a master's category, and anybody who's watched bodybuilding show, you can see a distinct difference between masters competitors and guys, 20 years their junior.
Right,
There's a big difference.
I got to chime in real quick.
There
Speaking
we
of
go.
masters,
There
all
we
right.
go.
So this is a shout out to this guy because I was blown away.
This guy.
Rusty Jeffers.
Ah.
Holy.
Yeah, right? I mean,
That body, the mustache.
he looked like the Monopoly guy. With that,
Did he collect $200?
he did not pass go. He did not collect $200. He went directly to
I just
jail.
want to bring that up because he was very impressive.
Now, listen, Rusty deserved it. Now, he's like my age, I think. I'm guessing he's 55, 56.
So you're going to make a comeback.
No. I will be back on stage, though, in just a few weeks. At the Lee Haney Games here in Atlanta, Georgia. Rusty looked great. Deserved every bit of that title. He was in the hunt for the overall. Lost out to another guy. But you know what? I think he was pretty happy winning his category. I mean, that was his goal. Yeah. But and his posing is still amongst the best. Right. I mean, he had a great routine. He was doing the stuff with the mustache and all that. Had the crowd eating out of his hands. So good for you, Rusty. Well done.
All right, last question. Well, it's not even a question. It's more of a comment. So the mayor of bodybuilding says, love you, Bob, but the Cowboys?
Yeah. You got a problem with that?
Cowboys suck.
Listen, you got the Cowboys confused with the Raiders. Okay, shout out to Sean Ray, our partner in crime. But no, the Raiders suck, bro. All right, like Cowboys are kicking ass and taking names. How about them Cowboys?
What about your Bills? Are they losing?
The Bills they had an off week. They had the bye week, so they're coming back this week. Bills are kicking in. Two teams. I don't have my Bills hat on today. I'll have it on for the next broadcast. I need a new Bills hat in case you're looking for any
You need
Christmas
a new
presents.
Yankees hat.
I need a new Yankees hat
Pretty
too.
crappy looking.
I know.
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
disgusting.
Well, Christmas is coming.
Yes.
What you got?
So one last thing. So Brian the Bull says, let's not forget Albert Beckles, second at 85 at 54 years old.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good one.
point.
Yeah, Albert opened up that door. But listen, not to take away from what Albert did back then because he did great, but far more competitive in the era that Dexter Jackson was competing. That got a little bit tougher as it went. Those physique into the 90s and even into the 2000s. Dexter actually competed in the toughest era. Like he caught everybody. Like from when he got in 99, I think he won the North Americans or somewhere around there. He caught the guys from the end of the 90s still competing, right? The top guys, Dorian and Nasser and all those guys, right? Flex Wheeler was competing still and all them. Kevin Levrone, right? Sean Ray, he hung him up in 02 or somewhere around there. And then caught everybody into the 2000s, and then into the Jay Cutler and the Ronnie Colemans and the.
You know what else is interesting about Dexter? He wasn't a big guy.
No.
And what did he eat before a show? Chinese
Nothing.
food?
No, he ate nothing. I've never seen Dexter finish a meal. No, seriously, we laugh about it, but I've eaten with him many, many times. This guy'd eat like a bird. You'd think for all that muscle, right? Those big arms and everything he had, he hated to eat. He's the only bodybuilder I've ever met that hated it. Like, bodybuilders, listen, we like to eat, right? I mean, I like to eat.
Obviously.
I never left a morsel. I was licking the bowl and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
So it fell on the floor, you pick it up and eat it.
There's no second rule, 10-minute rule, right? You know what I mean, for bodybuilding. Nah, doesn't make any difference, right? You can eat off the floor, but you're going to get that protein and carbs. And I've never seen Dexter finish a meal. He would leave half of it on his plate and then show up at the next show and kick everybody's ass. I mean, he was just that gifted as a bodybuilder.
He's the best.
But eating was not his forte. I mean, that was not part of what he did. So, we're getting the rap sign. You know what that means. Start rapping. All right, we got no turntable here. Or rhythm.
No, that was bad.
All right, we're going to wrap things
Thank
up
you.
here. Appreciate everybody coming on, as always, with those questions. We're going to put out another Voice of Bodybuilding podcast this week because there's all kinds of stuff going on, I'm sure. So, we'll be back. Maybe you can come back, Isabelle, huh?
If you have me.
We'll have you, yeah. Actually, you're staying here, so.
I am. You're actually kicking my ass in training.
Yes, we
'Cause I'm
will.
coming back next year.
There you go. Take heed to that, Miss Olympia out there. You know who you are.
Oh my
Andrea.
God. Why are you putting me on the spot?
Go ahead. Johnny, you want to talk some smack? Go ahead. She's watching.
Smackety smack smack.
There you go. All right, we're out.